Welcome to Haaseline Entertainment Revelation of the Spirit. Got a great guest today. I'm going to let her right in, Kat Miller. Let's see if we can get her back on here. Unmute. Can't see you. And
There it is.
there it is. How
I
about
can
we going to see you?
wait.
There you
Yeah, it wasn't letting me unmute or ah,
are you
how
today.
are you? Yeah, I
Fantastic.
was like about 20 minutes ago. I had it open and waiting, and then it turned off. It was weird.
That's okay. That's okay. It's so good to have you here. The name of
Nice
my
to see
show,
you.
my name of my show is Haaseline Entertainment Revelation of the Spirit. So we are glad to have you as a guest. I've already told everybody that you and I are going to be working together, trying to help you bring some brands and excitement to.
I am so excited. I can hardly wait. This is gonna be wonderful.
I know, I know. So it was new to me, and I'm sure it's new to my audience. I mean, you don't have to be a brainiac to know what passionate living is, but tell us about your show.
The show, I highlight people who, like you, who are living their passions and using them to make a difference in the world around them. And you know what fascinates me about it is since I started doing the show, it's amazing when you put that resonance out there that people are just drawn in with that resonance. But when I drove across the country last spring, and everywhere I stayed, everywhere I stopped, I met the most amazing people who were living their passions and using them to change the world. Everywhere I went, they're everywhere. And I don't think we realize it because we watch the news and we see all this darkness. But I think 95% of the people in this world are pretty darn good.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one thing I love about your show is that, I think there's something about I guess the word I'm looking for is resonating. I mean, when passion meets passion, right? Uh,
Right.
in the marketplace, there's like it's like a choir. I mean, it's like a resonating sound, and it's a pulse, it's a heartbeat, it's a cadence. Um,
Right.
that I know your show is bringing people together with that cadence. And what no better way in a world like you say, like today, to find those positive people, those people who I think, as you have say, are falling in love with their life, right? I
Right.
mean, how great is that? Um, Tell us some of the guests that you've had on, and or I know you've had some very famous
Right.
people on that we've discussed, but I know you've also had
Right.
just some, I mean, passion is passion, and it can be with passions for everybody, right?
Oh, it is. And the guests that we've had are just incredible. We this year in season 5 that we just started, we had thank you, Annie. We had a woman who was in a tragic motorcycle accident, lost her leg, young woman,
Mm,
and in the hospital when they had just taken her in and she had found out, she's going to lose her leg and the whole thing. She also found out she was pregnant.
wow.
And her and her husband were planning on having a baby, but this was quite a surprise. And it just the story of how she took this tragedy and she became a model, an amputee model. She became a sports spokesperson for all these different things. She had all these different legs that she would use for different sports and promote them. And then she started a nonprofit to help empower people who with amputees. So it's amazing just for her how she took a tragedy and she turned it into this huge success in her life that maybe she would never have done had she not had that accident. So it's an interesting thing to watch, how much of it is divine in our lives and we're meant to take whatever the tragedy or the challenge is and that's our work to turn it into something better, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask you because and I ask all my guests whether they have a spiritual side or not, but, that's where my passion comes from,
Yeah,
and I interview numerous guests with numerous ways that they get their passion, but, now that you've mentioned the divine side, um,
right.
tell me how does that, I guess the way I always look at when I transitioned into a real spiritual meaning for my life.
Mhm.
I took
Right.
things from the temporal living, which there's nothing wrong with temporal living. I just
Right,
I
right.
just wasn't seeing it be fruitful. I was and not just
Yeah.
fruitful from a financial standpoint, but fruitful from a happiness standpoint, a willing to get out of my mode of self for self and self for others. And,
Right.
and so tell me how important that's been on this journey, ride for you is your spirituality.
It's been everything. I've, I've learned along the way that, whatever that still small voice is within us, whatever, and I don't profess to know, to have any answers of anything. But when you listen to that still small voice, and that's what you came here to do. And then that voice sometimes gets louder and louder as we get older. It's like, do the nonprofit for kids, do this, do that. And you feel a calling. And I think when we push that calling down, whatever that is, that's what we came here to do. Whatever here is, whatever our journey is, that that calling that we all feel for whatever it is that we uniquely, individually have inside of us. I do believe that that is our life's work. And when you push that calling down, that's what leads to depression and illness and so many other things that maybe um, are all little signs or all little things trying to get us on our path. But
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
believe once we step on that path, it just whisks you away. You don't have a choice anymore. There's no going back.
but
Once you step on the path of passion, it's it.
I love it. I love it. I know
Yeah.
that you were involved a lot with holistic healing. It all kind of just, goes together a little bit for me because I'm just one of those that believes that we've been created to have greatness. We've been
Right.
created to have bodies that can self-heal ourselves and not just heal ourselves physically, but mentally. And I think that we've untapped, so many things in our lives along this journey. And then, like you say, when that bulb goes off, when you finally,
Mhm.
you step into the light, for lack of a better word,
Right.
all of a sudden, all these things become so much easier. Not necessarily that the journey gets, you know, problem free, but
Right.
it gets stress free. It's certainly you realize that I mean, at least for me, that there are no more problems. They're all opportunities. They're all things that are in my path now to make me grow, to find different things that I may not be using. And I'm assuming by talking to your guests, a lot of their journeys are the same.
Exactly. And I think when you think about it throughout history, our greatest breakthroughs, those cutting edge inventions, the companies that put automobiles or flying or whatever on the map, they were all created by an individual or individuals with passion that oftentimes were paving new ways of doing things and new their new up sorry, we've got an extra guest in the background here.
That's okay. We love extra guests.
And I'm at my son's house in Seattle, so
Wonderful,
the,
wonderful.
the only quiet room with the baby is the one with the cat.
And you see my crazy palace here. It's
But you think about it, and those individuals had to have passion because you do run into challenges. oftentimes what's inside of us, we're being asked to do things in a new way and to take chances and to be courageous. And I know on my journey, there have been so many times I've wanted to just quit or walk away or take the easy route. And it just, the passion is what kept me going. It's what drove me through. It's what got me out the other side. So I really do feel, like I say, that once we step on that path, you're right. It's not always easy, but it gets easier because you're doing what you know you're meant to do.
Yeah, yeah. So I was trying to find some things that we have in common. One thing I noticed is that you won a Telly Award, huh?
We've won 3 so far in the
Oh
last
my
couple
word.
years. Yeah.
I've won two. I've got my Telly, right? One of my
I
Telly.
love it. That's
So I
beautiful.
know I love my Telly, and I was so excited.
Isn't it exciting?
Yeah, it's like so exciting. So what did you win your Telly for? An
Um,
episode or
I we won 2 of them on an episode and one of them on a show. And
nice,
this year, I'm not sure if I missed the debt. We didn't apply for the tellies, but again, but I was going to apply for the Emmys, and I'm not sure if I missed the deadline. I've been getting all the emails, but we did one show in particular that I love that was on peace. I don't know if you saw that one. When I was driving across the country
right,
last spring, I stopped in Santa Fe and stayed with friends and met this woman who ran an organization called Tomorrow's Women. And they bring in 6 Palestinian girls and 6 Israeli girls, high school girls, every year, bring
wow,
them to Santa Fe and do this intensive healing work with them. And they become like sisters. And then they become peace proponents and they go and they speak at all of these venues throughout the states before they go back.
wow,
And even those that have graduated 10 years ago, they still are part of the organization. A lot of them have become civil rights leaders and they're doing big work in the world. And then in December, I Zoomed because the war had broken out.
right.
And she gave me the update on all these girls. And that show is one of the more powerful shows we've ever done.
Wow.
It,
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. You know, it's funny, you hear in the secular the term glass half full, or half empty. And I've always felt like I've been a glass full person. And I think
mm,
after
I
listening
can
to
see
a lot
that
of
in you.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I look at your all your guests and that's what I see. I don't see half full glasses. I see full glasses. And
Yeah.
it's not just stagnant water in those glasses. It's an ever flowing stream of that fullness, in their lives. So
Yeah.
congratulations to you.
You.
Let's talk a little bit about your guests. I mean, two particular that I'm going to bring up. We've already chatted a little bit. Richard Roundtree. I saw
Mm.
some interviews with him that you had. It was awesome. And then also Kenny Loggins. I was pretty cool on your show too. Correct?
Yeah. Kenny's an old friend. So in the first or second season, when, in the early days of the show, before my amazing young editor Rifat, who works with me now, came on the scene, Kenny was a guest. We Zoomed, and that was a lot of fun. We did a part one, part two with him because Kenny's so full of stories and talk about someone living their passion.
Oh my gosh, such probably one of the greatest. Well, I love his music, but I love his lyrics. Oh my God,
Mm.
his
So
lyrics.
powerful. When
So
we would hang out in Santa Barbara, because I had lived there for many years and Kenny and I were dear friends, and he would try songs or lyrics on me and say, "What do you think of this or this?" I'm like, Kenny Loggins is trying out lyrics.
right, right.
He's so excited.
How great is that? Oh my
Oh,
word.
it was so much fun. It was a blast.
So we're getting together to to help with some uh sponsorships and our conversation we're chatting that I want all of the brands that I know I have a lot of people that watch this that Kat is very passionate about her sponsors and
Mm.
very passionate about including them, if not potentially even having a show about something that they may be doing in the world, personally, or even the company potentially, that,
Right,
that's changing behaviors and changing attitudes to the positive.
right.
Um,
Our sponsors all have to be passionate about something because we do put them on the show. They get a segment, and I like to take someone from the company and make them into a character on the show
right,
so that I can weave them in and out of different shows. And I think when you put a face to a product, it makes all the difference in the world. Because then people, when they're standing at the shelf and they have a choice between this product or this product, they're going to say, oh, they're my friends. I see them on the show. They weave in, and they're going to go with the product that they feel a connection with.
right, right. So
Yeah.
season 5, wow. I mean, it's like
I burned
a,
out
a
last year. I
labor
burned
of
out,
a
and we did
labor
a
of
lot of
love, right?
reruns.
I mean, my gosh. So how many episodes are in a season normally?
Um,
Or is
well,
it
we do probably about 18 to 20 new shows. And then I do a lot of best ofs. So it takes us to about 25, 30 shows throughout a season.
wow.
And we, for a while, it was just, we did 2 seasons in one year. And I definitely burned out. Last year, we didn't do as many new shows, but this year we're back in the full swing of it again. And I'm just so excited because there's so many amazing stories that every time I think like, oh my God, this story was amazing. This has got to be like one of the most amazing we'll ever do. A new one comes that takes us even higher. And it's it's just extraordinary.
Well, I hope my guests, the folks that I call on who watch these will give me a buzz so that I can introduce you to Kat and get you to be a sponsor for this great show.
Oh,
Yeah,
we'll spoil you, I promise.
we all need to to be sponsoring shows like Cats and missions like Cats, because this is I think that there's I don't think it's kind of an evil thing. I just think it's a distraction, and some people are lost. Our marketplace is a little um shaken up. And there's nothing wrong with that. I always love when the marketplace kind of gets a little distraught. Obviously, COVID came a couple of years ago, and that shook up the world a little bit. But look how many changes we made from, what could have been a total disaster, because of people like yourself and people like you're interviewing. It's like we took COVID and went, "Shh, get out of here." And here, we're going to recreate a new creation of how we go to market, how we interact with each other. And I think it's like I said, I think the timing's right here for a sponsor and for your show to come busting out. Season 5 needs to be a bust out season.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so excited. It does, because you're right. There's so many important stories to tell, and the importance of telling those stories is that some person sitting there watching who has this voice inside of them saying, hey, do this. You know, you can make a difference in your community, or you know, you love this, that is working some job that they hate or is in a funk, and they'll get the courage to step out, hopefully, and do what it is they came here to do. So that's the whole premise of the show, is to light people up, to encourage them to live their passion and make a difference. And we always have mental health, mental fitness moments, or natural health moments on the show to help lift people, because we're in the biggest mental health crisis that the world has ever known, and definitely that our country
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
known.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, you're certainly making a difference out there. So,
Mhm.
couple
Well,
of
you too, with the amazing work you do. I just love your spirit. I love what you bring to the world. I love just the work that you're doing. I can just tell You touch so many hearts and so many people and so many lives.
Well, I think, I don't know about you, but for me, it's a life where I worked very hard and I did a lot of great things, I feel like, in the marketplace, in my field, but, I never really, got the freedom to enjoy it a lot of times. I didn't get the freedom to really understand the give and take of what you're talking about. This
Mhm.
passion is all about giving to others, but there's also that feeling of responsibility and getting things done in that area of giving to others, that then that's what lifts you up. That's what enlightens you and keeps you going through the muck of the day and the distractions of the day. Um,
Exactly.
and I wouldn't have it any other way. But to have just real quick, I wanted to get some fun things in here. Um,
Yeah.
as far as well, first of all, number one, we have to mention Buffalo. I mean, I'm not going to let this interview go without saying that Cat
Yeah.
is from Buffalo, right? And
I am. I moved back about 6 years ago to help my family after a tragedy, and from Santa Barbara. I only cry the first 2 years. I go to bed at night, like I miss Santa Barbara, but I love that community of Western New York, of Buffalo, and I ended up running a TV station and doing the show again, and so it was all perfect, right? Again, out of a challenge comes something great.
right, right. And I'm pretty sure that no matter where you go, the skies light up and the people
Oh,
light up around you. So,
I got you, babe.
I know we've been talking about passionate living, and that is our passion today here on Hostline Entertainment Revelation of the Spirit. But tell me something or one thing or a TV show or a movie or a person. It doesn't have to be famous or not. Doesn't have to be somebody that's been on your show that you see as very influential.
Mm.
Also with passionate living that you would recommend or has enlightened you to keep going on your path of this show.
I have two heroes in this lifetime. The first is my grandma. She's passed, but she taught me more about unconditional love than any guru on any mountaintop ever could. She always took people on, young people especially, under her wing, and that is one of my passions this lifetime is mentoring in young people. But oh my God, the love of my life. And then um, another amazing woman who I got to meet toward the end of her life. When you fall in love with someone in their 90s, you're going to be heartbroken soon. And her name was Dr. Dorothy Height. And
Mhm.
she was one of the key civil rights leaders for over 80 years of her life. She's the reason Martin Luther King got to make his I Have a Dream speech. You know, she was the only woman in an executive role in the movement at that time, the civil rights movement. She was at every major event. Nettle agrees, and I got to be a part of. I helped to ghostwrite one chapter of her final book, and oh my God, you talk about passion and tenacity. She told me once that she never let anything get in the way of her work. Never a sick day, never a relationship, never a family issue. Nothing got in the way of this woman's mission. And oh my God, what a light. She taught me a lot in the short time I knew her.
Well, and those lights are so important. It's funny. I'm in a Bible study on. I was there yesterday, and
Oh,
I'm
nice.
the only guy in the room, and most
Right.
of the attendees are women in their 90s, right? And
I
so
love it.
I'm in there with my wife, who's 29, as she will always be, and
Yes.
and
Same.
right, and then I'm in here with like 6 or 7 90-year-old women that are just um God's got me in there, I know, for a reason, just to let those ladies know how passionate they need to still be. Like you said,
Mhm.
there's never a time that anybody in their vintage years, should ever say, there's nothing for them to do or offer, because there's so much for those people
Oh,
to.
she was still running the NCNW, the National Council of Negro Women, for 35 years. She worked up till about a month before she passed away.
Wow.
She never stopped.
Well,
Yeah. But
I
I
work
can
with
see
the
you doing that. Tell me about your passions. I want to hear a little bit about what got you into this. What is your passion?
well, my passion, see, now we reverse the interview here,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it?
I know, but I have to know. I have to
You know,
ask. I
my
have to ask you questions.
my passion now is my spiritual life. I mean, that truly
Yeah.
is my, you know, but a really good friend of mine is Alice Cooper. And
Oh, yeah. I loved him when I was growing up.
right, right. And a lot of people don't know that he's a born again Christian. He's basically, he was not feeling good about being passionate about anything. He was even in his music. And, so he uh, made this commitment in his spiritual life. And, he said that, then he had this, I think like I also did, you get this revelation about, well, now I'm cleaning up what I think I should be cleaning up this part of my life, or something wasn't working here. But now I've got this new light on, I got this new energy. And he said that, that new energy told him, don't change who you are. I need you to be Alice Cooper, but I need
Yeah.
you to be Alice Cooper with that light on, with that
Yeah.
passion,
Yeah.
with that fire in the belly to go out and help and give to others. You've been giving to others, but you really haven't been doing it passionately, with this light that can be
Right.
exchanged and given to other people. And I think that story, and knowing him and knowing that story is the same thing for me, is that we go through life, and I've been fortunate, very blessed to be in the music industry and the film industry and the marketing of, major companies. And
Hmm.
now I just feel the passion for the marketplace.
Right.
I love the marketplace. And of course, today with all the virtual stuff we can do, and I mean, we can, like you're everywhere, right? Doing your shows, you're traveling around. And
Yeah.
I just love the way, technology and the way we've moved as a society and as a civilization in this world. And we just need to know that there's always a way to create passion, no matter, where the sun is setting, or
Yeah.
what's going on in your life. And like you say, once that light comes on, it's on. There's no going back.
It's true. And it's interesting. I would say I'm spiritual. Um, Not necessarily. Right, Nettle. I'm not necessarily. You'll see, you just see a tail. This is Nettle.
uh
This is who's been biting my feet and
it's
torturing me.
okay. I miss my
Um,
kitties. I lost all my kitties, so
you were talking about, from a Christian standpoint, I know your seems your spirituality and mine. I was raised Christian. I found out I had Jewish blood in my teens. I have always leaned toward Buddhism. I used to host Tibetan monks every year at my home in Santa Barbara for 8 years. They would come and stay with me, 13 monks, and we'd give them rooms and they do mandalas. And so I I would say I'm spiritual versus religious, but
yeah,
I
me
find
too.
it cool that passionate living, the word passion, and I didn't even know this when I first started the concept of this back in the late 90s, and it was ahead of its time. And we did some programming for the Wisdom Network under Passionate Living, but then um, I had to let it go for a while, and this was the perfect time to come back. But I remember finding out that the word passion is actually from the Passion of the Christ. And it means to suffer for what you love. And I'm like, to suffer for what you love? That's terrible.
Right.
But then I had this revelation that to be so passionate about something that you'd be willing to
Mhm.
suffer from the standpoint of maybe giving up a day off or maybe giving up a little extra funding to some, or maybe to be blessed to be living your passion.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
I
I
use the
realized it's a blessing to suffer for what you love to some
word.
extent. It doesn't all have to be suffering, but
I
a little.
I hear you. I use the word, a lot of people will talk in this, what you're talking about. They use the word endure, and I always try to change them to the word embrace. Okay?
Mm,
When
I love that.
because when
Yeah.
those things come at you, it's easy to embrace when things are going great, right? I mean, it's
Right.
easy to like somebody when they're treating you well, right? I mean, these are all easy things. But what happens when those things aren't happening?
Mm,
And
yeah.
that's when for me, this passion we're talking about, that's when I have to embrace that passion. The reason
Yeah.
that, the reason that times like this, you and I chatting about this wonderful thing, like passionate living, the reason that it's in our lives, you find out is when have nothing going on, or there is something that you may have to endure, but now
Yeah.
you realize that passion was put in your life for you to press into it, and to let it
Yeah.
be a ever ending, it's not a pilot light that can go off. It's a light that stays
Mhm.
on forever now. So
Right. Exactly. It's true. And sometimes you have to dig deep to get through a challenge. And man, when you're paving a new path, um, there are challenges. I mean, even with this show, for instance, is as a for instance, um, the industry, as you know, because we're both in it, but especially with television and film, here are mediums that can be used for such good and have so often been used to perpetuate hate or anger or violence. And when you're doing something different that can't be placed into a traditional box, well, is it a magazine form? Is it this? Is it this? And it it takes, we've had to find our audience so they could find us. And I think now we have probably over 1 million views a month based on, some Nielsen numbers from our other two markets in the media audit in Buffalo and our YouTube and all of our other streaming. And our audience is finding us now. And it, but I tried to go through traditional routes right out of the box, and the doors were closed. So I had to find new doors to open, the
right.
back door usually, and find new ways to get the message to the market. And people are hungry for positive, uplifting, inspirational content.
I
They're
agree.
starving for it. You see it in Ted Lasso, in Queer Eye, in the Great British Baking Show, and all of these uplifting shows that have just exploded out of the blue, that didn't fit into the traditional formula
Right.
before. And people are looking for that now. So you have to push through in those moments because doors are not always going to open right away. And it's like, okay, that door didn't open. What about that door? Maybe I'll build a door over here.
There
And
you
there's
go.
always a way, right?
There's always a way. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for taking the time out of your day, and spending some time with me. And I look forward to this being a successful partnership here to help you
Oh, I'm so
continue
excited. And a
continue.
lifelong friendship, I can tell, is budding.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So have a wonderful week and weekend. And again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, Doug, thank you for everything you do, and thanks for having me on the show. I love it.
We will talk again.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Bye.